We learned this week that there are sore losers, really sore losers, epically sore losers, and hyperactively sore losers, and then, several hyperbolic adverbs further along, there is US President Donald Trump. We learned this after Finnish President Alexander Stubb, who has been a guest on Monocle Radio's The Foreign Desk twice, and Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre, who is yet to appear on The Foreign Desk even once. And come on, mate, what are you waiting for?
Come on.
Just get on with it.
What, him or us? We learned anyway that the pair had sent President Trump a short but entirely affable message to the effect of, maybe give the chat about invading Greenland a rest, let's talk about this like reasonable people, about which we, for one whimsical news monologue, were encouraged, given that we have been all this week in Greenland's tiny but delightful capital of Nuuk. They have a national anthem here. Hit it. And we learned that the response said missive elicited, directed towards Jonas Gahr Støre, was in part as follows, as will now be read with due solemnity by Monocle's whining crybaby desk chief, Fernando Augusto Pacheco.
Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace.
From which we learned that Donald Trump has definitely not learned that Norway's government does not award the Nobel Peace Prize, has quite possibly not learned that Norway has nothing very much at all to do with Greenland, which is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, and has very definitely not learned that he hasn't actually stopped 8 wars, especially if you're not counting, and call us pedantic, but we for one whimsical news monologue don't, those wars which never actually occurred, like for example,
Cambodia and Armenia. It was just starting and it was a bad one. Think of that.
And we learned all this in a week in which we learned that Trump had received a Nobel Peace Prize, or at least a Nobel Consolation Prize.
Tonight, just 24 hours after Venezuela's opposition leader María Corina Machado presented President Trump with her Nobel Peace Prize, we pressed the president on what he'll do with it.
What do you intend to do with it, and why would you want someone else's Nobel Prize?
Well, she offered it to me. I thought it was very nice.
Yes, we learned that 2025's actual Nobel Peace Laureate, Venezuelan opposition leader María Corina Machado, had handed off the medal to President Trump mounted in a tacky gold frame which will fit nicely in with the Uday Hussein bathroom chic which presently dominates the Oval Office decor, and adorned with unctuous approbations along the lines of, these are direct quotes, presented as a personal symbol of gratitude on behalf of the Venezuelan people in recognition of President Trump's principled and decisive action to... Fair enough, among yards more verbiage of the kind that might imaginably be coughed up if you typed into ChatGPT the prompt, crank me out a few paragraphs of oleaginous flattery of the kind which might profitably soothe the fevered seething ego of Earth's most abjectly needy individual. So we learned that President Trump appeared to have rethought one previously doggedly held position.
The United States will not let men steal trophies from women.
But we learned that it hadn't quite taken, at least if one's threshold for success was stopping Donald Trump whining interminably about being deprived of the recognition he believes himself due.
Should have gotten the Nobel Prize for each war, but I don't say that.
Fact check, he does say that really pretty frequently. We learned, however, or at least were reminded, who the real villains are.
And don't let anyone tell you that Norway doesn't control the shots, okay? It's in Norway. Norway controls the shots. They'll say, we have nothing to do with it. It's a joke. They've lost such prestige.
So we learned therefrom that President Trump either had not read or had not believed the explanation from Norway's Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre, typed with an almost audible sigh, that Norway's Nobel Committee which judges the Peace Prize is an independent entity unlinked to Norway's government. And we learned, perhaps unsurprisingly in the context, that one Danish MEP, specifically one Anders Vistisen, believed that it might be time to state the general Nordic attitude more plainly.
Let me put this in words you might understand. Mr. President, fuck off.
An approach which, we learned, might have kind of worked. For we learned that a week which began with bookmakers calculating odds on the Danish-American War of 2026 and lawyers passing Article 5 of the NATO treaty trying to figure out what in the wide world of sports everyone was supposed to even do if one member of the alliance attacked another, while the President of the United States engaged in mortal combat with a paperclip.
Oh, I'm glad my finger wasn't in that sucker. That could have done some damage, but you know what? I wouldn't have shown the pain. I would have gone back. Boy, did you hear that? That was nasty. But I would not have shown the pain. I would have acted like nothing happened as my finger fell off.
Ended with Trump collapsing, not for the first time, to the kind of space-filling, time-buying flannel which may stir memories in listeners who ever either neglected or forgot to do the reading before making a presentation to class.
Well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to be a very good deal for the United States, also for them. And we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland, and it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
But we learned that the international press, Monocle Radio very much included, which had descended upon Nuuk to cover the now apparently de-escalated crisis, may not have far to travel for the next one.
I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
Greenland, Iceland, tomato. For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Mueller.